Hey guys, kind of something new here. I have a very prolific creature actor, indie writer, director, and one of King Ghidorah's heads here to interview. And hello, Mr. Alan Maxson. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just fine. Really cool to actually been able to talk to you for a while now and just kind of get an idea of what's going on and get a little input into the world of indie work. I guess you were on the Oscar stage too, although you were in a creature costume.
That is true. I definitely was in a creature costume, but I was there nonetheless.
I mean, that's still really cool. And quite a
Yeah, that
big
was a lot of
step
fun.
up from humble beginnings over here.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everyone has to start somewhere, and it's honestly really cool what you've been getting around from there. And I do actually want to start off with a couple of questions about Christmas with Cookie. Uh,
Everybody's favorite and least favorite movie.
I mean, I hear the same thing about Thanksgiving. So, and I know you were in that too.
I was in part three.
Part three, yes, yeah, because there's no part two.
Exactly.
I haven't actually seen any of those. I've just seen a bunch of clips.
Oh, they're fun. You should
Oh,
watch them.
I'm sure they're fun. I like all the random low budget schlock stuff. It's just enjoyable.
Yeah, and it's fun because when it's a low budget schlock, you can tell how it was made while watching it, and you can kind of feel how much fun the filmmakers had making it while you watch it too. So it's kind of like a group experience. Like you almost feel like you're part of bringing it to life because it is so low budget.
Yeah, and I love low budget projects where you can really see everyone that's just very clearly having a great time putting it together, no matter
Mhm.
how it comes out. That's just really fun. And just for transparency's sake, you have sent me three of your films, so I'd like to ask about the ones that I have seen.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, well, the first one I have is the Christmas with Cookie. You sent me the trilogy, but I've only been able to watch the first one as of this interview. And
Okay.
I'm just curious, were these like your first films, or were you doing shorts before those, or what?
So as a writer director,
Hmm.
Christmas the Cookie was my first. So obviously, when I was young, I made shorts, worked on projects in college and whatnot. But as an independent film being made outside of childhood and schooling, that was my first film that I made, and I co-directed that with another friend, Sean Schminke, because as you saw, I'm acting in it a lot too. So we helmed the director role together because I was on camera so much. So it was a great collaboration for that film.
It was definitely a an interesting movie. It kind of just felt like the whole intent there was to just go balls to the wall and just have fun with all of your friends.
Absolutely. Well, the point was, I wanted to make a movie, and I had an idea of certain elements that I wanted because it just sounded fun, and also playing a character like Cookie was something that I wanted to do because he's a fun, zany character. But as most people know, making a film is very, very expensive. So at the time, I was like, well, how can we make this for nothing, basically? And I was like, well, I can afford to put aside like $1,000. So we set out to make this movie for $1,000. And when you do that, you have to lean into it because $1,000 is nothing to make a movie.
Yeah.
So we leaned into making it as silly as possible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got to lean into the camp there. It definitely feels like there was some Freddy Krueger going on with Cookie in particular.
Yeah, I think Cookie is a little like his voice is very much kind of like Freddy meets Yoda meets Schmeagol meets I don't know, Crypt Keeper, I guess. But
I mean, that's a fun combination.
yeah, it was fun to kind of find it because it had to fit his personality, but also his look. But I also wanted to feel familiar within that genre, but also not a copycat of the others. So I kind of took inspiration from, all of those type of things to make Cookie's vibe.
Well, it's very interesting. I really enjoyed uh the vibe as it were with what it was going on.
Thank
Definitely felt like it's just an excuse to have fun.
you.
Um, and that makes me curious about like what is your main goal with films and shorts now? Are you still doing those?
I absolutely am. So in 2023, it just feels like yesterday, but it wasn't. I released another feature film called Alien Planet, which I wrote and directed.
Yes, and I
And
will talk to you about that later.
oh, excellent.
Yes.
And then obviously I'm continue. So I'll wait to talk for when you have the questions. Um, But no, yeah. So I'm currently writing another script right now. I'm always constantly trying to um, find more avenues to continue creating art. But kind of like what I mentioned before, filmmaking is expensive. It's probably the most expensive art to make. And I personally would like each of my projects to continue getting better and better to the point where I can look back and say my last one looks terrible compared to the new this newest one. And so that also requires each one to be more costly. So it makes it more of a long game as I continue because Cookie was so easy. It was just like we can get together on weekends, it costs nothing, we're just scrambling. But then once we get to Alien Planet, um, I had I had raised a decent amount of money for it on crowdfunding. And so now the next one, I have to just keep upping the ante so that I don't go backwards as a filmmaker. I want everything to just be a better film overall.
I like that. It's a lot of progression, it seems like. And I mean, with how indie projects are nowadays, you see them just getting bigger and bigger. And I mean, one thing blows up and now you have a whole franchise on your hands. I mean, look at Terrifier, for example.
Mhm. Yes.
Um,
And even things like Alien Planet, like I would love to do more. I have written multiple stories. I could do sequels, a series. Like I have a whole universe plotted out for Alien Planet. So it's like you can, if something ever takes it off, you can absolutely make a franchise out of it.
Of course, and I will get to Alien Planet. That is your bread and butter right here. And I do think that there's a lot in there to talk about. But I do want to have go over a quick couple of questions about Patina, which
But yeah,
I'm very curious about, because that is the short you sent me about the robot butler.
yes.
Can you tell me the inspiration for the story? Was this just like a simple idea that you wanted to put to film, or was there more to it?
The reason why I wrote that, there's two reasons. One is, I spoke about wanting to progress and make every film better. Um, I had been planning to write Alien Planet for a while, even before Patina, but I knew I needed actual funding. And so I needed to have some sort of proof of concept that I can create something that is actually good and not intentionally bad. Christmas Cookie is meant to be a bad movie.
Hmm.
And so I thought, well, what's the best way to make something really, really good? And that's to make a short because your money can go farther because there's less time on screen. So I invested some money and got an entire crew together and made that as kind of like a show and tell of like, cool, look, now the world can see I can make something of better quality. The second reason that inspired me to make Patina was actually I had been cast in a very high profile TV series
Oh.
as a robot character. And it was a very last minute casting. And I had jury duty.
Oh no.
And those bastards would not let me out.
Oh
I
no.
I had already pushed it previously because of some sort of work conflict, and you can only push it so many times before they're like, "Too bad if you don't show up, we're gonna fine you." And
Oh no.
and so they gave me some pretty big threats and were like, "You have to be here tomorrow. I don't care if you have a job." And the rules have kind of changed. Jury duty used to be a little bit more lenient, or not lenient, I'd say a little more understanding of if you're a freelancer, it's not a matter of just taking the day off work. You lose the job. So jury duty used to be understanding of that, and they've tightened their belt, and now they're just like, we don't care how much money or business you lose. You have to be here. And that's
Yeah, that
kind of the,
sounds like jury duty.
yeah, exactly. So I was so bummed that I couldn't do that job that I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own. I'm going to make my own robot. And so that was also another inspiration for the script. So I guess it was a two-parters. The first part was I needed to make something of quality. And the second part, which was what to make the film about, was based on the inspiration of the job I lost.
Oh, that works. That's really nice, actually.
Yeah,
Taking at least something good came from jury duty.
exactly. Exactly.
And I do want to talk about the end credits specifically for Patina have a lot of practical effects in there, and the smashed up head of Patina's there. And I noticed that it is in Alien Planet as well. What what was the idea for the practical end credit scene, and what's the exploration of the head all being busted up?
So the backstory for the Patina, the robotics company,
Mhm.
is that while it was mass produced on a grand scale and shipped to anyone who wanted to order one, the company that made it was not a legit business. The theory behind it, that we don't say this in the script at all, but it was my kind of backstory internally for it, is it was actually made by a crazy smart like hillbilly person who makes them in his garage. And that's why it was evil, because it was programmed to actually not be good, or maybe it was just not fully programmed correctly because it wasn't a proper build. It was just like some guy and maybe his friends, or who knows what, in his garage building these robots. And those were supposed to be the broken down bad parts that didn't make it, or they fell off the assembly line, or some sort of just like rubbish left over from building the robots.
Oh, okay, cool. So there's a whole bunch of extra lore there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was not important for the actual story, but it was kind of in my head. And so my friend Kyle Gerard, he loved that idea, and he basically built all of those practical pieces and used his garage and put them up and filmed it all for me. And yeah, so there could be a fun backstory of just like some, I don't know how you could have a guy who's a hillbilly but also like smart enough to make AI robots. I'm not sure, but like
Hey,
that
we
could
have
be
Five Nights at Freddy's now, so
that is 100% true. That's
not
true.
hillbilly, but
We were thinking kind of like almost like Chainsaw Massacre meets Five Nights at Freddy. Like that's kind of who built the Patina robot in our mind.
that honestly sounds pretty fun.
That's what we thought. And he was gonna film himself dressed up kind of like, it would again be probably Chainsaw Massacre style, like very
Mhm.
r like grotesque guy who looks like he hasn't showered, lives in a garage in the middle of the woods or something, like building some of it or welding. But he didn't quite look actually disgruntled enough to pull it off. So we were like, let's just get B-roll of the actual problem.
Well, I think it stood out, which is impressive from an end credit standpoint.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Of
I'm
course.
glad it didn't go wasted.
I'm glad too, and I really like the little added bit of lore there. I like things that are expanded upon. Um,
Yeah,
and I
because I would love to one day potentially make some sort of a feature version of Patina. That's something that would be super fun, and particularly that backstory that I just described would be a very unique twist that we don't normally see in quote unquote bad robot movies.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's like a little bit of a Wishmaster where it's like taken literal request. I really like that. It's just interesting. Um, and that does lead me to Alien Planet, which is your big uh, bread and butter indie developed film available on Tubi, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime for those interested. And you wrote it, and I'm very curious what changed in the writing process from start to finish? I recall in an interview you mentioned that the budget really held you back and had you cut a decent amount of it down. What was the original vision compared to this final one?
That's a good question. So there's, I think, you might remember because you just listened to an interview, but it's been a while since I have looked at those versions of the drafts, but I think it was probably about 20 pages longer, give or take. Um, and it just came down to simple math. Once I finished crowdfunding and I raised the money that I had, I just did the math of what it would cost to film per day with all the cast, the crew, food and props, electricity, bathrooms, everything, whatever, everything that's involved in production. Mathematically, how many days can I shoot? And it came down to 12 principal days of photography. And I was like, I got to make this script fit in 12 days. And it just came down to me, doing a full script breakdown. And I don't know, I don't recall how many days it required, but I had to do the track and say, all right, I got to get rid of this many days. And then I went through the script and kind of reworked it to either remove some scenes or condense particular information or things that are needed to tell the story, combine it into other scenes. I had to get creative with just ways to trim it down a little bit. And your question was, what were some of those scenes? Is that what you were asking?
I was just curious, like, what was the original vision compared to the final? Like, I am curious about what these extra scenes were. I'm not going to pretend I'm not.
Yeah, I think one I do particularly remember is in the opening sequence, you get all that exposition from the voiceover, and you see kind of like a war between the Lokine and the Kumine as Locke is talking about the history and getting everybody up to speed to where we're about to enter the film. And I think a lot of that entire montage and exposition were more scenes. I think I had a little bit more bigger scale of showing the war and the battles and just how terrible it was. And those had to go because, I think the biggest cost for the entire movie were the prosthetics. And
Oh
the
yeah.
prosthetics, the makeup, the puppets, the practical effects, all the things that, were required to bring to life an entire world with no humans. That ate up, I think it was either half the budget or more than half. It was a lot of the budget. So I couldn't do a giant, battle scene and show a bunch of actors in makeup because that would require so much makeup for so many people. So that kind of had to become a montage with exposition. So that
Uh,
that's a big example of one of the biggest differences.
that's honestly what I was thinking when the movie first started. I'm like, oh, I bet he really wanted to shoot this. Because I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. But you kind of have to work with, I'm not sure everybody's kind of different on their knowledge of filmmaking, but the budget of Alien Planet was around, it was like 70,000 or less. It was like 65 or 70, something in there. And if you're not aware, that sounds like a lot of money, oh, 60 grand. but it's actually not. For making a movie, that is pennies. It's very, very
Yeah,
hard to make a movie for that kind of money.
that's really, really
Um,
small.
exactly. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to you just have to succumb to that, really. It dictates the script in a way.
Yeah, it really does, which is unfortunate, but also just kind of the reality. And then you get films where suddenly they give a whole bunch of indie people a full budget, and suddenly you got things like Talk to Me. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I did want to point out the effects, especially the gore and the costumes. They are really well actualized for the budget you had. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of Psycho Goreman. I don't know how familiar you are with that one.
I'm very familiar. Yeah.
And
I'm honored that you'd compare it to that. Thank you.
of course, they look very similar because I think the goal there is to just do as much as you can practically, and it works really, really well. It is very rare to have something this imaginative come through, especially from an indie space that isn't focusing on like pure horror and low budget horror where everything's like way too dark. Yours is very well lit. And I'm just kind of curious, like, can you walk me through the idea from the conception to deciding to go with the Indiegogo campaign? Were there other alien ideas that got left on the chopping room floor before you decided to settle on this story?
I guess there nothing really left on the chopping room floor. It's just kind of a you have to pick what can be. It's almost like what George Lucas had to do with Star Wars in the original film, where
Mm.
he had the whole arc of Anakin all the way to Luke kind of idealized. I don't think he had the whole script actually written, but like he could have. I don't know. Fact check me. But essentially he decided I have to make this small section of Luke rising up and finding his path because he wasn't sure if it would go any farther than that. And he didn't have the budget to do what was required in that prequel era because it was so grand. And I think it's kind of a similar thing where I have a ton of backstory in the Alien Planet franchise. And I had to pick the one that was actually more realistic to just recreate. Um, it's kind of similar as George Lucas. The If I were to go back and do the prequel of Alien Planet, which I would absolutely love to do. I mean, I think there's so much to be said in how we got to that spot in this movie. But it would require, I guess it's probably not a spoiler, but it would require them being on Kameen
Yeah,
and
it
their
definitely
home
would.
world. So it would be such a larger scale film. So that kind of dictates choosing the spot to make it where I did in the storyline.
That is something that I was actually going to ask because no spoilers, but things end pretty definitively in Alien Planet. And I do recall you mentioning, not just in this interview, but in other interviews you've done, that you have so much on this universe and had ideas for, I believe you said, four other movies, now a
Hmm.
sequel. I'm assuming probably a couple of spin-offs. And I'm very interested about the lore behind the Kameen and the Lokine. And I'm curious if this was all pre-planned or maybe a specific metaphor outside of the social commentary.
So I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with the social commentary is they're modeled after us. That
Mhm.
that it's humans. We are terrible.
I
So like,
mean, it's been a crazy week politically. Not gonna
been
go
a
into
crazy
that.
life, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just I think that's where the inspiration for them basically it was me thinking, what are the most common things in humans that are normalized but terrible? And the fact that so many humans just accept it. And that's kind of what Kamins and Lokines are, is they've been living this world where they just do terrible things to each other
And justify it.
and justify it.
Yeah.
And not really even understand each other or know each other. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where they came from, if that answers your question.
Well, yeah, it does. And just kind of piggybacking off what we're talking about with the directing and things, I have here, what is your ideal movie? If you were given an unlimited budget, what would you do? Would you go for like an epic sci-fi trilogy or something like Star Wars, or maybe something a little more grounded? Or I'm just curious.
Well, I think in the fantasy world, I would remake Alien Planet. I'd be like, let's make this thing the greatest Star Trek movie anyone's ever seen.
Oh, hell yeah.
Um, but in a more realistic sense, I think it would just depend on whoever is giving me the budget, what they want. Because it's kind of thing, the sad truth is when you are given money, on that scale, like crowdfunding is different. Crowdfunding is people who care supporting you as an artist. So you get to do
Yeah.
your art. But like if your example, say it's a studio and they're like, hey, we want to fund a movie for you. We'll give you $20 million. The truth of it really is your work for hire at that point. Yes, you may be writing it. It may be your creation, and you will obviously make it as your vision, and it is art. When there's that kind of money involved from an actual company, it does become kind of business at that point. So,
Yeah. They want a
um,
product that needs to make money,
exact,
so
exactly. But in a fantasy world, if I could combine the two, it would be amazing to kick off, an Alien Planet style franchise. Like make a movie that's so grand and so good that you can't not have sequels and prequels and series and spin-offs and stuff.
of course. And I mean, there's so many like that. I mean, you mentioned Star Wars, Star Trek. We got Stargate. We have that parody Star Trek movie whose name is escaping me right now.
The parody Star
Space
Trek.
Quest. Space Quest.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's it. There's no shortage of it, and the creativity is definitely there. So I hope you get to do something like that in the future. I would love to see an expanded alien planet with a bigger budget. I think
Thank
that'd
you.
be great.
Yeah, and because it is basically about us. There's so much that can be told. It's not unlike Star Trek, and I've said it in, you've done your homework. I've said it in a million interviews. It's no different than Alien Nation or V the miniseries or Enemy Mine or Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek literally just had an episode very similar to Alien Planet. It was the Gorn and Ortega were stuck on that planet together. But that's also not new, Alien Planet did it. A movie I just starred in, Monster Island, did it. Uh, Hell in the Pacific, Enemy Mine, and hell, even Star Trek did it with Quark and Odo in Deep Space Nine. So it's like this is a very common trope within science fiction is mirroring humanity with aliens.
Definitely. And I mean, like, they do that a lot with things like Alien and even with Predator at times too. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's why I think a lot of people can kind of like glamp onto it. But then, I mean, you also have other ones that are far out and all over the place, like Annihilation, Arrival, Color Out of Space. Um, there's a lot of different ways to go, is just what I'm saying.
Totally. Yeah, I think those are different genres of
They
sci-fi. Like
are.
they'd be like sub-genres within science fiction because, I think you have the alien social commentary genre, you'd have the visited by aliens genre. There's just so many different kinds. And while they all have their own, commentary on whatever they're trying to say, they're all they're all speaking to us as humans because we're the audience. So that's who we want to speak to.
Definitely. And there's a lot to talk about in that regard. I like the conversations that we can get out of that.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely. It's very
yeah,
Rod Serling, it's like Twilight Zone. Um, he makes lots of valid points in the episodes of Twilight Zone, and it's a lot of fun to explore those things.
Oh, definitely. But you did mention a movie that you starred in, so I want to pivot over to your general acting and your creature work. There's a lot of interviews, so I apologize if I accidentally give you any questions you've heard, but I also need to know, how did you land King Ghidorah? Was there an audition? You won the IFJA award for the motion capture with your co-stars, so congratulations. But I'm a huge Godzilla nerd, so I just need to know.
Well, thank you. Yeah, there were auditions. The first, what was the, it feels so long ago at this point. The movie came out in 2019,
It
and I
is
think,
very long.
and I think we filmed the motion capture in 2017, maybe. So, we're coming up on here, it's almost a decade ago at this point. Hard to believe that was that long ago, but
I know,
yeah,
and
the
he hasn't
first,
shown up yet. He hasn't shown
I
up
know.
again.
We're waiting
Uh,
for Mecha King Ghidorah.
yes, please.
And that would be a dream, let's put that in the universe. Legendary Warner Brothers, whoever's listening, Mecha King Ghidorah, bring Jason, Richard, and I back. Let's do it.
Oh, hell yeah. I feel like you guys would get first dibs.
We would hope so. We would hope so. Um, but no, the audition was actually a lot of fun because the first time, I had multiple things, I think. I recall the first one was in person. I met with the director Mike and a handful of producers and the VFX producer. And we just talked. I don't think they didn't ask me to do anything. I think I was wearing probably gym shorts and like a workout shirt because normally when I play a lot of monsters, so when I go to auditions or meetings, I usually anticipate moving and demonstrating. So like I dressed to do that. But but they didn't. We just talked. And Mike was super cool and down to earth. And so Mike was he was really kind, very fun. We just chatted and he showed me clips of the film with previs in it. Because they had already shot the whole movie at this point when they had us do the mocap.
Oh.
And yeah, the whole movie was done. So he was showing us clips and not us, just me, because it was just me at this point. And then he told me about the three personalities of each of the heads, and he didn't tell me which one he was thinking for me, but I kind of assumed it was for the angry head based on the other monsters I've played and the type of creatures that I've brought to life. I play a lot of very vicious and snarling and very angry type of monsters, and so I just assumed that one was for me. Turns out once I got on set and he actually appointed us, I was right, and I was like, no shocker here.
I believe the internet named them Ichi, Nee, and Kevin.
Yeah, I think Mike named that. I think he
Oh, he
said that.
did.
Don't quote me, fact check me again, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Mike said that at like a convention or a Comic-Con or something, and that's kind of where the Kevin joke came from, I believe.
It's possible. I've just seen it all over the internet.
Hmm.
And I guess that does make sense that the movie would be done by then, considering it's
Yep.
all the monsters are CG, so
Yep.
yeah, it makes sense.
Totally. And so he actually, after that meeting, I had to do another audition over video. And so they had me send in an audition video. I feel like I did two audition videos, but I can't recall genuinely. But I think my gut tells me I had two videos. So it was like one in person, two videos. And then I got the call and they're like, we'd love to offer you the role. Come on in. We want to show you some things before we film. And so I went into the Legendary Studios and they took Richard, Jason, and I, the other heads of Ghidorah, they took us into a theater. It was like a personal theater at Legendary. And it was the three of us sitting in the dead center of the theater and a couple of the producers behind us. And they're like, we're just going to play the movie for you so you know what you're doing. And we
Oh.
got, we got to watch the entire film before we we performed, and it was awesome. It was so spectacular, and um, they even had
Dang.
little previs of the monsters in it, and so we kind of like knew what we were doing. So we could then, when we started shooting, then we could choreograph our fight scenes and walk through our stunts, and we knew what they actually wanted because they had done previs. So it was really cool. It was a great experience.
It sounds really interesting. Was that your first time doing mocap?
No, I had done some other mocap on a very small scale, but it was Godzilla, so that was a pretty grand mocap.
Yeah.
So, so it was definitely my first big one for sure.
Yeah, it definitely like the behind the scenes stuff I've seen looked like the behind the scenes mocap I saw for like Resident Evil 8 or something like that. So,
Totally.
oh yeah.
Yes.
What was the audition? Did you just snarl and move around?
I'm trying to remember. Probably it was probably me, just doing my best Ghidorah performance, which would involve snarling and biting and movement and showing that type of thing. And I think he also wanted a lot of facial expression because that was the whole point. He wanted
Oh yeah.
my head to be angry and the alpha and then the curious. And those three emotions are definitely facial expressions. And so I believe I did do some close-up stuff of my face, showing emotion within the anger level. So I'm pretty sure he was looking for those type of things.
Love it. I think that's great. But you also mentioned earlier the last movie you were in, I believe, was Orang Econ, Monster Island.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And that was the physical costume all the way.
Yes, and that was a hell of a costume. Alan Holt headed that one. Him and his team made that suit, and honestly, it was probably the best monster I could have ever asked for to play. He looked awesome. The character was great. The amount of fight scenes and choreography, and I got to do wire work while I was in that suit. It was a dream job. Genuinely, like I wish I could play the orangutan many more times. It was such a fun project.
It definitely looked like you were having a blast with that. And the costume itself is very impressive. Was the jaw remote? Because it does open a few times. So I'm
The
just
whole face
curious.
does. Yeah, Alan Holt had a remote, so we'd choreograph. The movie had a lot of fights,
Yeah.
and the actor Dean had he played Saito. He was like a martial artist, so he had a sword a lot. And the other actor, Callum, he was more of the brute force. So he had, a lot of a gun and an axe, things like that. And so it was a lot of choreography with me swiping and biting while they have weapons. And it was you had to choreograph it for sure. So while
Yeah.
we're practicing it out, Alan Holt, who created the suit, would have the remote control and he would be watching the monitor. And we would work out together my body movement with the facial expressions. And so it would do the eyebrows, the fins, the fin like on the head would go up and down, the jaw, the mouth would open and close. And we would just work that out of making it match because you can't just you can't just wing it. You have to. It's such subtle movement. If there's a moment where the orangutan was curious, it's gonna tilt its head a little, and the eyebrows might go up, but you have to know when those are happening simultaneously, or else it's gonna look clunky. So we did a lot of rehearsal for that, and it was a perfect harmonious relationship with Alan and I because we worked so well together and brought that monster to life.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really good whenever you got to see the whole thing, which is a lot in that movie, thankfully. And was it
Great.
just
I think it was the right amount. It was a lot of movies show a lot less, and I feel like
they
that was perfect.
do. There's
Yeah.
one movie that I saw, it was like After Midnight that had a full practical puppet monster, and they didn't show it at all until the last 5 minutes of the movie, and I was so pissed.
They like to preach the Jaws rule. They barely show the monster. That's what you have to do. You have to hide the monster. You have to barely show it. And they keep pounding that into people's heads, and I fully disagree.
I do too.
Because the reason why we see less of Jaws is not because they intentionally filmed less. It's because they had to edit it in a way that keeps it realistic. And yes, I'm sure there was a lot on the cutting room floor. But if they were to have shot with the intention to show very little, then you would have what you spoke about. I've never seen that film, but they would have that where you don't see it at all. Because actually, I don't know what the numbers are, but you see that shark quite a bit. And I bet you see it, I bet probably the same amount of screen time as you see the orangutan in Monster Island, if I have to have a hunch.
I feel like we see the orangutan more, but I'm not sure. It's been a very long time since I saw Jaws, and I
Yeah,
saw it when I
again.
was 5, so there's a lot of trauma there.
And also, I could be wrong. I'm just guessing, but it feels like there's more than people claim. It seems like a lot of people use that as a reason to not show the monster. And I think we need to more.
I think we need to show monsters more as well, especially if they're practical. You have something practical, you should have almost every excuse to show it.
I
Uh,
agree.
and I think that worked out really, really well for the Orang Econ costume itself. Was it just the one costume? Because you did a lot of stunts and water work.
Yeah, so we had two costumes.
Okay.
And we abused the hell out of that suit.
Oh no.
But yeah, we had two suits and we just rotated them because even when I wasn't in the water, which I was a lot, like even when I'm not in the water, I'm walking in it. When I'm on that waterfall,
Mm.
my feet are all wet. When I was doing that fight by the downed airplane, I'm splashing around. The water's up to, I don't know, like my ankles or my knees or something. So like I'm getting wet. The suit gets wet. And also, even if you're not including that, it's so hot in Indonesia, and that suit is so hot that I was just sweating profusely every moment I was in that costume.
I can imagine you probably a lot more than you think.
Yes. So I have an answer for us. I just looked it up. Um, the shark in Jaws has approximately 4 minutes of screen time in the film.
God damn, okay.
And if I recall from when I was looking at the footage, because I had to cut some of the orangutan into my reel,
Mhm.
I believe it had about 6 to 7 minutes of the orangutan in the movie.
Really, it feels like so much more.
It does, but also so does the shark in Jaws. Like that shark is around in your mind the whole movie. So yes, that's a couple minute difference, but it tracks for a similar thought process of it's not hidden as much as you think it is.
Yeah, that's that's good. I like that. Um, I am curious because yes, this was an Indonesian film. Still think it's very interesting to have an Indonesian director with a Japanese English story, but anyway, that's beside the point. I'm curious how you landed an Indonesian film. Kind of curious why they didn't just hire locally or if they're already doing England and Japan. Um, was that an audition that they had in the States or?
No, they had hired Alan Holt, who created the suit, from working with him on previous films, and
Oh,
he thought that I would be a good fit for it, so he put me in touch, and that's kind of how that connected.
okay, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Um, I also was gonna say, just for creature acting, does it help that you're tall?
it does, but
I knew it.
but there's a lot more taller creature actors out there.
There are, and I've noticed there's one that does, I can't remember his name, but he does a whole bunch of contortions. So he gets a lot of creature act. I saw him in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, for example.
Oh, was that Kevin
Maybe
or
I don't remember the name,
I
but
don't.
he was definitely in there doing. contortions. I know he was on America's Got Talent one year.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh, and I was wanted to ask, what do you like about directing versus acting? Do you prefer being behind or in front of the camera?
They're both very, very different. Um, and I love to do them both for different reasons. You know, acting, you can kind of escape into the role and you don't have to think about it once they call cut. If they move on, they say, you know, cut, moving on, next scene. I don't ever have to think about that moment ever again
That's
because it's
very
done
true.
and they're happy with it. As a director, you have to live with every frame of the entire movie from pre-production to post.
Mhm.
So Alien Planet took me about 3 years from writing to crowdfunding to filming to editing. And I worked on it every waking moment that I was not on my actual job for 3 years. So you live with it and you can't just forget about it. But the bonus of that is you're kind of the painter. In other films, when you're not the director, yes, everyone involved is also an artist bringing their art. But the director has a particular vision that they are trying to make for the final product overall. The director is the glue for all of the artists that come together for the film. So it's just a different type of creativity. Definitely one that lingers with you longer. And then also even, I guess even after you wrap, you still have to carry on with the film that you made. So like Alien Planet, we're talking about it now. Um, Whereas Monster Island and Godzilla, I kind of get to just be like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Yeah, that was a good time. And I can just kind of like think back on it like it was a party I went to. But but when you're the filmmaker of a movie, you still talk about it years later with an eye of what you're proud of, what you could have done differently. Do people even enjoy it? You know, it's all
Mhm.
those things about presenting. It's very vulnerable presenting your art like that.
Oh, definitely. I don't know. I agree with a lot of that. I haven't really directed much besides that one clip where I rewrote the ending to Smile. I that was fun. I'm trying to work on all these other ones, but yeah. But that leads me into a couple of questions that some friends on the Crypt TV Discord server wanted me to ask. So Doodle wanted to ask if you prefer acting in a costume or acting for motion capture, and why do you prefer whichever one?
First off, Doodle, I love your name. I'm assuming it's because you like to doodle and you might be a artist or drawer or painter or something. That's cool. Um, so Doodle, I prefer to be in a practical suit. Um, Mocap is fun, and I will never say no. But in a practical suit, you get to really just embody that character. And there's just something about how you feel performing in it, how you know you look. And you also have to compensate for certain things. You have to compensate for if you have a tail, if you have claws, if you have a jaw with giant teeth. Like there's something about it that you really have to almost puppeteer your own body.
I was gonna say if there was one thing I could add to the Orang Econ, it would have been a tail.
Yeah, that would make it very xenomorphy.
Just a little bit more. Next I have Casppuccino asking what was the worst, most fun, and what your favorite costume you've ever worn was, and I'll add on your favorite or least favorite puppet or prosthetic piece.
We'll start negative and then we'll go happy afterwards. So my
Hey.
least favorite, oh man. Um, See, that's the thing. It's hard to say because I also love a challenge. So even the most difficult suits, like some people would say their orangutan would be a difficult suit to wear. But I enjoyed it. I don't know. Probably the least favorite. I don't know. I don't got one for you. They're
Oh,
they're
that's
all
fine.
they're all difficult in their own ways. They all have certain things that you have to bear through. And you know what? I got one for you. They're one of my very first ones I did. I was cast because the original actor dropped out. And so they had built this costume for him. And it was only like days before. So I came in very last minute. And if anyone has seen pictures of me, I have a very deep brow on my forehead, very much like a Neanderthal.
Oh,
And so this other guy clearly did not have that because the helmet for that creature that they built, it dug very deep into that spot on my forehead.
ow.
I was right, and it was about 3 days of shooting, and it just kept rubbing and rubbing, and I eventually had a big scab in the middle of my forehead for a while.
Ooh.
I had that healed, and after that, I learned to, speak up. Like if something hurts, hey, can we put some moleskin in there, or can we just grind that down, or just anything? But that costume was difficult simply because of that. But I don't blame the person who made it or the director, just the simple fact that it wasn't built for me. But I rocked the hell out of it.
Hell yeah.
And then what was my favorite? I
Yeah.
don't, I might say, costume, the orangutan. That costume was awesome. That's probably my favorite suit I've ever worn. But one of my favorite, most enjoyable performances would be the sandworm at the Oscars, just because it's hard to describe genuinely the vibe of being at the Oscars on stage with Conan O'Brien and all of those wonderful, talented performers right there. Just there's magic in the air, and it was so much fun, and everybody was pro, and everybody was kind, and there was not a bad apple there that night. It was just we're having fun. Let's put on a great show, and everybody loved it. So that was just so much fun to get to do that.
All right. And I'm gonna ask like what your favorite puppet was. Because I know you've
Puppet.
worked with those.
I'm gonna have to say Guy from my
Hell
own
yeah.
because I modeled her after my cat. I'm a big cat lover. I love all felines, and my cat Zira was kind of the inspiration for Guy. Uh, so yeah, I'm gonna have to go with her.
Well, sweet. I like that a lot. And then that's pretty much all I have. I just have one more question, and that is what's next in general? What can we
What
look
is?
forward to?
Oh man. Is there something I can I have a couple things happening, but nothing I can say yet publicly, but I'm trying to
Mm,
think of
a lot of NDAs here,
everything has an NDA.
especially in Hollywood.
Uh-huh. Um no, I can say keep a lookout for oh, I don't know. What's something that can be said? Oh, you know what? There's the movie Party of Darkness coming out that my brother and I co-directed a short film within the anthology. It's an
Oh,
anthology. It's um, a horror comedy,
I did
and
see that on your IMDb as upcoming.
yeah, and my brother and I we co-directed for the first time. It was a short film about a killer coyote, and we have a practical coyote puppet in it.
That's fun.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun to make, and it's yeah. So when that film comes out, I guess check that out because there's a lot of talented directors in it too. Everyone involved in that was just a lot of friends that also make their own films. So, you mentioned it on IMDb, look on that film and see the other directors and check out their work because they all also do great work. And we've all also been a part of each other's. They all worked on my films, I've worked on theirs. So it's like, we're a little community. So, that
Hell
one's
yeah.
coming. That'll be cool.
Hell yeah. And you're no stranger to anthology films. I know you've been in the VHS series.
Oh yeah, I forgot I was. Yeah, I'm in the VHS series with actually the guys from Thanksgiving.
Yes, they did do a few segments.
Yep, they gave me a call when they booked that one, and they're like, "Listen, we have this thing that it's gonna need quite a few creatures in it. Do you want to come on out because you'll probably play multiple?" And I did. Anyone who saw their segment, there's these characters called brooders, and they're
Yes.
they're kind of like zombies essentially. Um, and I played a handful of them. You can pick I think probably 4 or 5 or 6 of them out on screen randomly that are me. Um, And it was great getting back on set with those guys because of, last time I worked with them was Thanksgiving, and that was, I don't know, what was that, 12 or 15 years ago? So it's been a while. So that was a lot of fun reuniting with Jordan and Kevin on that.
And it's good to see them doing other stuff. I remember that segment. That was the first segment in VHS Beyond, if I'm remembering
Hmm.
correctly. I
Yep.
reviewed that on my channel too. Check that out in the corner.
And I think they have a new one too. I'm not involved in the new one, but there's another one I think coming out this Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's out on October 3rd. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen here.
Fact check. You should get like a fact check sound effect. Ding, fact check. Or if it's false.
Oh my God. Sometimes I do that.
I think you should. Man, you'll be like, every time I said fact check me in this, it's gonna go meh.
Meh. I think that's all I had. Um, I guess it's not really fair to just be asking you all the questions. So do you have any closing questions for me?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, sweet.
What is your favorite part of let's go with all the films we just talked about now. Uh
Okay.
Cookie.
Uh,
You gotta tell me your favorite part for Cookie, Alien Planet, Godzilla, Monster Island, and VHS.
oh God. Okay. Let's see. My favorite part out of Cookie had to be the caretaker for the Yeti. Just,
Evan. Evan
oh
is
my God. He was
funny.
so funny.
I love him. I worked on another film with him called A Dead Dame in Hollywood. And it's basically like Leslie Nielsen, Naked Gun style comedy about a detective solving a case. And Evan plays a crazy doctor in it. And we had a lot of fun together on that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I don't think I've seen it actually.
I am a human, so you might not recognize me in
Oh no. Humans are the
it.
worst things to be. As for Alien Planet, I had two things. I really liked when they're inside the Dweller ship, and they're talking to each other, and the Dweller's like throwing them meat for some reason.
Tuck that.
Uh, I like just the conversation and how we got to see more into the background there. If I had to pick uh, a funny part I really liked, it was at the start where when Brocheet was in the ship and he was saying like, "Oh no, you made the mistake. I'm the best. I'm the best agent you could send." And then as soon as he lands, he immediately is shot and carried away. It's very funny.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
As for Orin Econ, I don't know if you watched my review for that. Um,
I
I would,
unfortunately have not, but now I'm going to.
oh, I appreciate it. I will say, I think the best, well, my favorite scene out of that is probably the ending um, katana fight with the
Ah,
creature.
that was a lot of fun to do. That was a fun one.
It looked a little fun from what I could tell. The unfortunately, personally, I thought it was very the shots were very chopped up, so it was a little hard to follow at times. But I still could see that you guys were having a great time doing that. And it's a sword fight with a monster. Come on, it's fun.
Yes, it was very much like old Western Face Off, but with a monster.
Definitely. And yeah, that's all I had.
I
Um,
like That's great. And outside of the films that we talked about here, um, what is your favorite genre of movies and your favorite film within that genre?
Oh, geez. I'm a horror nut. I mean, I love everything horror. If I had to break down the subgenres, that's a bit harder. I do love me a really good psychological horror, but I love me anything with monsters. If I had to pick my favorite monster movie, it's definitely The Thing.
That is a good one. That
It's
is
a
a very
classic. I love everything about that one. Um, Otherwise, my other favorite horror movies tend to kind of drift. It was The Shining for the longest time, and it was also Pan's Labyrinth. if you've ever seen that Guillermo del Toro movie.
Of course.
Um, and then I think my current favorite horror director is Mike Flanagan.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is
everything,
all. I love it.
I do too. And I want to say thank you for talking to me. I really wasn't expecting any answer when I sent you an email, and it's really, really cool to hear back from you and be able to do all this.
It would be very difficult to not reply to your email. You sent one of the most kind, professional, and just down to earth emails that I've ever received from a cold email. So it would be difficult to not do this show.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Is there anything you want to promote before I close out?
Go watch all these movies we talked about. Particularly, I think the biggest thing I could ask is leave reviews. Especially for films like, I talked about Alien Planet a lot because I put so much into that movie and it does mean a lot to me. But the thing about independent films is they have a hard time without advertisement finding the right audience. And genuine, real reviews help it find the audience. That means leaving pros and cons. Like you can't just sugarcoat it because what you want to do is you want the people who's interested in it uh, to read the realistic view and go, oh, actually, this sounds badass, and then go watch it. So, I'd say check out Alien Planet and leave a review on whatever your site is, whether it's IMDb, Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, wherever you prefer to leave reviews. Um, and I will tell you this right now is if anyone who's a physical media collector, if you buy the Alien Planet Blu-ray on Amazon, it does not say it on the website, but I can guarantee you it comes with extra Blu-rays, a bonus disc of Alien Planet, which includes unseen bonus material and a puppeteer's cut that includes the film with the puppeteers still in it. And Cookie and Patina on Blu-ray. So you get kind of like this big bundle of movies if you buy that. So if you are a physical media collector, definitely snag that up because you'll get a bunch of goodies.
And I can say from experience they are very good. I'll leave some links in the description for anyone interested in buying. And I'll leave a link to Alien Planet as well for all those people.
And if you don't want to buy, it is free on plenty of sites. Tubi has it for free and tons of other channels. Just search it on your TV and it will pop up.
Yep, and on YouTube. I know Patina and the first Cookie film are definitely on YouTube.
Yep. Though
So,
they should be free with ads, I believe.
yes, I believe so.
You just got to
I'll
sit
leave
through
links
all
to them
those.
as well.
You just got to sit through all those medicine commercials.
Oh God, Ozempic.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, I want to say thank you again. Check out Alan Maxon Monster Productions LLC. Check out all of his other work. I'll leave links all in the description here. And thank you again. Thank you so much.
This was a blast.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for this new thing I was able to do. Thanks again so much to Mr. Maxon for coming on and talking to me, sending me his movies, and just being able to pick his brain about everything that goes on behind the scenes and how the sausage gets made, as it were, with movies, creature acting, independent stuff. I really found a lot of this incredibly fascinating, and I'm very happy to be able to call Maxon a friend of mine now. So this is all really cool. By all means, give his stuff a watch. It deserves it. There is so much and such a wide variety that I'm pretty sure no matter what your taste, you'll find something you like. His repertoire is just gigantic, and honestly, I'm a little jealous, but hey, I'm still starting out, kind of. Anyway, thanks again. I hope you guys all liked this. Do you want me to keep doing interviews? I can try and get more. I've been trying to get interviews for a very long time, actually. So maybe let me know in the comments below. After that, don't forget to like this video, subscribe so you don't miss a video. And yeah, that's it for now. We should be back to regular reviews next week. Yeah, so look forward to that. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. And if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song I know, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.